What's up, YouTube? So before we get started in this video, on first take, they're going to be talking about Kyler Murray, and he's the quarterback of the Oklahoma Sooners, and he's projected to be a #1 pick in an upcoming NFL draft. So let's see what they have to say about him.
I want to start with Kyler Murray. A rough report for him. My former colleague at NFL Network, Charlie Casserly, he said the combine feedback on Murray was the worst he has ever gotten. Todd.
So that's terrible right there. That's bad to hear. So Kyler Murray has had the worst NFL combine that he's ever seen. So does that mean of all the quarterbacks he's ever seen at the combine? Or is he talking about everybody as a whole, all positions, quarterbacks, linebackers, defensive backs, defensive linemen, offensive linemen, wide receivers? Which one is it? Because that's bad. Especially this guy's projected to be a #1 pick, and to even have somebody say something, the worst draft you've ever seen? I don't know. Let's keep going.
How concerned should the Cardinals be about taking him at #1?
That's harsh. I mean, I've heard, I've been around, the Oklahoma program, and he is the opposite of Baker Mayfield in terms of just, being outgoing and having that lively energy and personality and all of that. That's not him. He's not that guy. But he's poised. He's kind of to himself. He's very serious. He's hardworking. If you talk to Lincoln Riley, his head coach, he said he picks things up extremely quickly. And as a player, you watch the tape, and I don't ever see any issues with him not being able to see the field or go through progressions or anything like that. So I have heard that.
Well, his height is an issue. So if he says he's seen him play on the field and he doesn't have any problems going through his progressions, there's no getting around that, because he's listed at what 5'10", and if they put you at 5'10", you're shorter than that. He's probably like 5'9". I hate to say it, maybe 5'8.5", 5'8 3/4", if they list you at 5'10" at the combine. So I don't know. That could be a problem. I heard that in Oklahoma he had NFL sized line. He has some hogs in front of him, which probably, I think the NFL offensive line probably averages like maybe about 6'4", 6'4.5" to 6'5", about 300 pounds to 310 average. Now you got those monsters that are larger than that are probably about 6'6", 320, 350, somewhere around there. So that's like almost half a foot he's going to have to be looking over. That's a lot. And you're not playing with kids anymore. You're playing with pros. You're playing with defensive coordinators that are going to be out there trying to trick you. So, I don't know. We'll get into that a little bit later. So let's keep going.
He works more on instincts than he does necessarily diving in and studying the playbook around the clock and those sorts of things. But when I study this tape, I don't see any issues with him processing or not knowing the offense at any point in time. So I've heard some different things, and clearly he's not Baker Mayfield, but
and as far, like I said, if you're going to be a #1 pick, just to get in the general area of being #1, top 10, top 20, you're going to have to at least be able to play. You're going to have to be able to have knowledge. You're going to have football smarts. And your off the field situation is probably, doesn't have to be 100% sharp, but you're going to have to be pretty decent to be projected at #1. I know a lot of guys have trouble. But to be projected at #1, a strong #1, he has to be smart. He has to be, athletic. He can play. The only thing, like I just said, is his height. You have to be able to see over those big hogs. And those defensive coordinators will know he might have trouble seeing over those large hogs and start throwing some plays at him and influence him to go to a certain way so somebody cracks him, or influence him to throw a pick, because they know he might not be able to see. So let's just keep going.
I think that report is it's awfully harsh.
I'm not accusing Charlie Casserly of anything. I've watched him on TV. He's done a good job doing what he's done. I do think it's a bit harsh. I think it's a bit excessive. And I think when you think about the history of the black quarterback, to say something so harsh, so historically harsh, is definitely made me uncomfortable. And as a result of being so harsh, Todd McShay, I don't think I'm stepping out of pocket by saying this. It's going to force people to look at Charlie Casserly's resume. It's going to force folks to look at his years, 10 years or so in Washington, the 4 years with the Houston Texans. Who was his first pick as the GM?
So before he gets into who his first pick was, so no matter what, when somebody makes an accusation against you, whether it's true or not, somebody's probably going to look at you. Even if if it's completely out of your character, it doesn't fit you at all, there's going to be at least one person like look at you like, well, maybe this guy did do it. And there's been cases when evidence has come out and somebody was accused of something, evidence has come out and it's been clear cut that they didn't do it. It was proven that they didn't do it, clear cut. And people would still chastise the accused. I don't really want to bring him up, but Ezekiel Elliott, the Dallas Cowboys running back. So he was suspended for games, and he didn't even do anything to that girl. She even admitted to it. She said, I just wanted to ruin his career. So there's probably still people out there that believe Ezekiel Elliott probably did do something to her, even though he didn't do anything to her. So no matter what, when you bring up those type of things and you say something against somebody, no matter what, somebody's going to say something. And no matter what your resume is, I don't know what this guy's resume is, Mr. Charlie. I don't know what his resume is. But just the fact that he says, nah, he didn't have a good resume or combine, or he didn't do as good as at this part, but he did all right. But he said that he had the worst combine that he's ever seen. That is a complete outlier from what everybody else is saying. So where there's smoke, there could be a fire. Some people might look at like, well, wait a minute, why would this guy go so far against the grain and say that he's the worst combine ever, and everybody else saying he's had a great combine? Let's just look into this a little bit more. Even just to look. So let's keep going.
For the Houston Texans, the quarterback, David Carr. How did that work out? No disrespect to David Carr. No disrespect to the Carr family. But, I mean, come on now. We going forward.
Okay, so I know I was talking too much, but what Stephen A. Smith just said is that the guy that's making accusations against Kyler Murray, they looked into his resume. In his resume, he apparently helped pick David Carr. So if I recall correctly, he was the quarterback at Fresno State, and then he got drafted to the Houston Texans. I think it was their first year that Houston Texans were out, if I remember correctly. And David Carr really had a terrible career. That's what Stephen A. Smith is talking about. David Carr had, what was his name? Was it David Carr? I know he has a brother that plays for the Oakland Raiders. But anyways, Mr. Carr, he had a terrible career with the Houston Texans. But he had a terrible career because it was a new team and his offensive line was horrible. I mean, his offensive line was absolutely garbage. If he were to play with another team and have a halfway decent offensive line, he could still be playing today. Like, seriously, he could still be playing today. But, once the ball starts rolling of a quarterback been looked at as he can't play, he's bad, and, he can't make the plays. Maybe he's throwing interceptions because he doesn't have time to throw. He doesn't have time to go through his progressions and see who he wants to throw to because his offensive line is not blocking. Maybe he's so worried about getting hit because he's averaging 2 or 3 sacks a game because his offensive line is terrible. But, that's probably another video about, I can't remember which car, David Carr, or I forgot which car it is. But he does have a brother that plays for Oakland, but the other car, his older brother. So, I don't know. But let's keep going.
You're going to be forced to look at your picks when you were an executive at the quarterback position, because you're going to see an abundance of people out there looking to debunk and completely eradicate what he just stated because of how harsh it was. Kyler Murray, with that athleticism, with that speed, those skills, the worst workout at the NFL scouting combine ever? Really? I mean, you're going to have to answer for that. That's all I'm going to say.
It seems to me that you have to. I don't know how you qualify that. Because he's... Yeah. And I know Charlie well. I like Charlie. But I don't know how you qualify that. You can say I heard some things about him, some not so positive things from the interview room. But to say the worst ever, I just don't know how you qualify that if you weren't in the room and weren't following him around to all 32 teams. Plus, why then is he such a hot name, and why are people talking about him potentially going?
Exactly. But what I would like to know is, What is he talking about? Is he talking about just all the quarterbacks he said the worst combine? Or is he talking about everybody, all positions? Because that makes it even worse. The worst combine, this guy said the worst combine he's ever seen out of all the players that have come there. And this guy's supposed to be a number one pick. Something's not lining up here. Something's not lining up there. And like the guy said that's on the screen right now, he says if he wasn't there for all his interviews for all the NFL teams, then how could you say that? Because you don't know. Now I know there's an initial where they're on the field, they're throwing the ball, and everything goes along with that, and all the scouts are there, and everybody's looking. Okay, I can understand with that, but everybody's not always there for each and every interview process. When a team talks to you, when a team interviews you, when a team tests you, everybody's not there for that. That's an individual process for each team. So I don't know how that guy could say that. But once again, like at the very back of my mind, I hate to say it, everybody else saying this guy's stellar. But this guy, Mr. Charlie, comes out of nowhere and says, that was the worst combine I've ever seen. Why would he say that? It could be true. I mean, it could be absolutely false. He could be hating on him and everything. But why would you say that? So I have to look into that. I have to. That's just so off the ball. You got to check that out. It's the same thing. I hate to bring up basketball and you guys can be like, oh, God, here he goes again. But remember when Kobe got in trouble with that girl in Colorado, and he was in trouble, and he was doing whatever he trying to do to save face, and people were interviewing, talking to him, and he actually threw in Shaq's name into the mix. He's like, everybody's getting on me about this girl in Colorado, about me cheating, and all sort of type of stuff, and about me raping this girl. But what about Shaq? No one's talking about Shaq. What about Shaq? Shaq pays off all his hoes. We're like, what? Hold on, what? You gonna say what about me? Oh man, I couldn't believe when and no matter what, whether it's true or not, everybody's gonna be looking at Shaq like, what? His Shaq's wife, no matter what, whether it's true or false, she's gonna be looking at him like, what? To do that, I was mad. I was real mad at Kobe for that. I think that was one of the determining factors that led to them not wanting to play with each other. I mean, the way Kobe threw him under the bus like that was like, oh, man. And I'm not going to lie, no matter where, I'm thinking like, whoa, Shaq, you be playing off your women to not talk about your little extracurricular activities? Oh, man. Oh, man. Let's keep going. I'm getting off track.
Number one overall. And again, I had Oklahoma 3 times this year. I sat with Lincoln Riley twice and had long conversations, a lot about Kyler Murray and who he is and what kind of person he is, worker and leader and those sorts of things. And he'll be the first to tell you, he's not Baker Mayfield. He's not going to get in your face as a vocal leader, but he's poised. If he makes a mistake, it's like nothing phases him. Honestly, Lincoln Riley, in probably over an hour worth of sitting and talking to him, never had one even close to negative thing to say about Kyler Murray. Now, you may not like him, and he may be a little standoffish, and he may come across as being cocky, arrogant, whatever you want to say sometimes. But it's going too far to say the worst ever, because you can't. How do you compare that to anything else?
That's very true. And the Cardinals probably think, why would he say that? Like everybody else is. But you'd have to think that if he's going to be number one pick, he's going to be paid millions of dollars. Millions of dollars. You don't think that the Cardinals have done everything they can do? Can you imagine that type of background check? Can you imagine the type of background check someone's going to put on you if they're going to pay you millions of dollars? They're going to be talking to your second grade teacher. They're going to be talking to the recess monitor about your behavior in first grade. They're going to be talking about your actions when you were born. When your doctor picked you up the first time, like, was he aggressive? Did he seem like he was rebellious? I mean, they're going to talk about and research anything and everything. They're going to go all the way back. All the way back. So I just can't imagine that the Cardinals would miss something that would indicate that Kyler Murray is so bad that it was the worst combine to ever come about. I mean, they probably have background checks worse than FBI or on par with the FBI. They have the means to send private investigators to any place, any town he's ever been to check up on anything and everything. Talking to his neighbors, talking to his old girlfriends, talking to his old teachers, talking to his old professors, talking to, anybody, everybody. their local McDonald's and all the towns he lived in. I mean, they would do thorough, intensive backgrounds. And for the guy to say that he was so far off of being good, I just can't imagine that the Cardinals would have missed that. I just can't imagine that. So let's keep going. I keep, rambling on, but let's keep going.
Especially if you weren't in the room.
Charlie Casserly has a losing record as a GM, however, has also GM'd successful teams. This is Belichick's quote on Casserly once upon a time. Who's been wrong more than Charlie Casserly since he left Washington? His percentage is like a meteorologist. He has no relationship to this team. I'd say less than zero based on what? He's never had a practice, never had a game. At least he put his name on it, which is more than a lot of guys. But, he is usually 100% wrong.
Hey, Max, who said that?
Bill Belichick. Of course, Casserly is talking about the Patriots there. How much do you think this is? But Casserly's just doing his job.
You're priceless, man.
Casserly's doing his job and passing along information. But I wonder, Todd, not about Casserly as a source, but more the front offices in the NFL have shown such amazing cowardice and lack of courage in terms of doing things in a unique way. They simply followed the herd. How much of this could just be that Kyler Murray is, because I'm concerned about what I hear, but then I think maybe he just is unique. Maybe he doesn't go about things the way they want.
Well, having that, with what that guy said, Mr. Charlie, what he said about his combine and everything that goes along with that, that's good. That's got to go beyond being unique. That's got to go beyond being unique. Because if you're unique, that means you can still have a good combine. That means you can still play, you can still throw, you can still run, you can still do everything you need to do. You can still test accurately, as in football knowledge. You can still be unique and do that and not have that guy call you or say that he had the worst combine ever. You can still be unique and do all of that. But this guy said he had the worst combine. It goes a little bit further than being unique. And even still, how many players in the NFL or quarterbacks are unique and have their own little personalities? So the front office, I don't think it really matters, because what really matters is, can you win? Can you play? That's the only thing that matters, because it's production over quality or tolerance. I forgot which one it is. If the guy's weird, he's unique, or whatever it is, whatever the situation is, he's a weirdo off the field, but he can come in, he can play, he can ball out, no problem. No problem. We'll deal with him being weird off the field as long as he produces on it. Let's keep going.
To go about things, but still gets the results. Have you seen that before, where a guy gets just destroyed in the interview process? It turns out he was a great player.
Listen, you look at some of the best quarterbacks in this league, and you're not going to find a whole lot of love for them in terms of their personality and how they carry themselves. I mean, I can't use the word. They can be very tough to be around. Aaron Rodgers has turned a lot of people off. Tom Brady, while he comes across as the greatest guy in the world, he's hard on the guys that are in that quarterback room.
Well, I wouldn't doubt that, because, there's a lot of arrogance that can be built if you are a star quarterback. You are a pro athlete, will make you arrogant. You are a rich pro athlete, will make you arrogant. You are a good pro athlete, will make you arrogant. You are a superstar championship winning athlete, will make you arrogant. Your wife is a supermodel, that will make you arrogant. Everything in your life is perfect on the surface from what we can see, because obviously things could be going on behind closed doors. But those guys right there, they have a reason to be arrogant. And with arrogance, like I said, the tolerance over production. Those guys are getting it done. Tom Brady, he can be arrogant all he wants. He can request that nobody looks at him when he comes into the office. Nobody look at me. I heard Tom Cruise did that. Nobody look at me when I'm in here. Nobody talk to me. Nobody bother me. As long as Tom Brady keeps winning Super Bowls, you can be arrogant all you want. If Aaron Rodgers wants his parking spot right in front, if he wants to come and work at certain times, if he wants to have certain things done his way, if he wants certain people to deal with him and certain people not, if he's mean to people, hey, production over tolerance. If he's producing, you're winning, hey, we will deal with whatever comes off the field, whatever goes on off the field. That's just the way it goes. All right, let's keep going.
Peyton Manning's notorious for how much work he makes everyone else around him do in terms of helping, and how demanding he is. And while he's so funny on the commercials and he's a great guy in so many different areas, I mean, these guys can be different cats, and it's part of what makes them great, is that just obsession with being great and doing all the details and all those other things.
And a lot of times I've heard that when you get people in those type of positions that are super athletes, or they're CEOs of their businesses, or they're at the top of their profession, a lot of them are psychopaths. A lot of them are psychopaths. But what it is they direct the craziness, if you will, in a good direction. They direct it in, let me play football, let me be the best, let me go over plays over and over and over so I know like the back of my hand, let me throw this ball 1,000 times a day so I can be able to hit the spot every single time. I'm going to go over all my plays so I know anything and everything. Obsessive compulsive psychopaths aren't scared to step on somebody, aren't scared to ruin somebody's life to win. I'm not scared, like a CEO. I'm not scared over to stomp on somebody to get to the top, to make sure my business does the best, to make sure I have $1 billion business. Same thing with the Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, or Aaron Rodgers. They're not afraid to do whatever it takes to win. Psychopathic behavior. Let's keep going.
So, listen, it doesn't matter to me as long as the guy's going to work. He's going to show up. He's going to produce. And if he goes about it a little different way, like Ben Roethlisberger has his entire career, but gets the results, that's all that matters.
Well, let me say this, to piggyback, Todd, off of what Max said. Charlie Casserly was the GM for the Washington Redskins in 1991 when they won the Super Bowl, so there was success, to be fair to him.